Have you ever asked yourself how the world looks as seen from behind the Iron Curtain of one of the most mysterious states in the world? Today we're going to unveil some of the glamorous and furtive parties organized by Kim Jong Un himself. These meetings are not only lavish, they're a mixture of wealth, dominance, and hierarchy which few people, if any, from outside this country can see. Let's start with Kim's favorite playground, his private island full of exotic species of animals. Just imagine an island in the middle of the ocean with all the facilities that one can imagine. Everything on the island looks like it has been borrowed from a fairy tale. There are luxurious villas, beautiful beaches, a runway for private airplanes, a sports club for the wealthiest, and a yacht which is almost like a palace weighing 400 tons. It is a very fancy and spectacular place, and the guest list? Only the closed circle of North Korea's elite and a few select international guests who have no idea what they're walking into. When you get there, it is one big fun time. You can be zooming through the clear waters on a jet ski, feasting on gourmet foods prepared by some of the best chefs in the world, and enjoying a drink for as long as your heart desires. And when I say drinks, it means imported wine, champagne, whiskey, you name it, all without any extra cost to the guest. This is not just your typical neighborhood party, it's more of a spectacle aimed at making Kim's closest insiders appreciate the advantages of being loyal to him. And the entertainment? Stunning stunts that can overshadow even Las Vegas shows, including Korean classics, singing and dancing, and even spectacular dance numbers by the Moranbong band famous in North Korea. However, such parties are not all about enjoying themselves. They are a tactical act, a form of ostentation, a message to anyone who would be foolish enough to imagine that they could cross him and remain in power. A reminder for those who still serve him about how good he is to them, that they should not consider moving against him. These parties are nothing but planned in every move that is made and every conversation that is held. Picture this. It's a high-ranking military officer having a drink with some of the world's best cognac while chatting with Kim Jong Un. On the other side of the room, another official could be wondering whether or not he has been loyal enough to the president. It's all about control, with the added bonus of glamour as far as anyone is concerned. Of course, these are not merely parties, they are tests, tryouts, arenas of fealty, or whatever you want to call it, where treachery is punished and always lurking in the air. But here is where things get even more interesting, or rather, more dark. There have been many rumors with regard to what has been called the pleasure squads, groups of young women handpicked for their looks and trained for their primary purpose of catering to North Korea's higher-ups through singing and dancing, or even beyond what you can imagine. Think about this, a state planning every aspect of its citizens' lives, enlisting young women for a life of servitude, and all for the pleasure of the few elites. It is said that these women are chosen as teenagers and are put through the most grueling preparation possible, not for school or sports, but in how to sexually please North Korea's top officials. It is believed that they are split into teams according to their specializations, and the gossip is that they do not just serve cocktails or strip. This is a dark and sinister side of Kim's cloistered world, and while it may seem that this side of Kim's eventual regime has largely been dismantled, many speculate that it still exists in the shadows today. The pleasure squads for these women aren't lavish, far from it. They are servitude, they are subservience, and they are like an inescapable fate for many. Rarely does Kim Jong Un unveil the door to his hidden sanctuary to let in international guests from different countries, special envoys, and even celebrities at times. Remember Dennis Rodman? Yeah, he got a front row seat to all this madness. These sorts of invitations don't necessarily mean boasting or showing off, but instead about sending a message. The extravagance is meant to shock, to dazzle, and above all to prove a point that despite the sanctions and isolation, Kim Jong Un has everything he wants. While for international guests, social interactions can be anything they want them to be, whether bizarre or surreal. Like, imagine the time when you've eaten a large meal over several courses in a gilded banqueting hall in the company of many of the most important politicians of your own country, with Kim Jong Un at the head of the table, where you are well aware that beyond the palace walls, the people of your country are hungry. It is like a class in psychological control, an exposure of the class divide between dark Kim Jong Un and the rest of the citizens in the North, a concise message to the world that in the hermit nation of North Korea, things are not always as they seem. Everything mentioned here is contrary to the poor standard of living of a common North Korean citizen. As the elites are living in a world of glamorous high-rises, the majority of people experience hunger, poor living standards, and a totalitarian regime that is even watching their every step. Arrogance dominates this country as we see a different world of the super rich and influential who seem to be unaware of the world that is out there where people survive in any way possible. These parties are funded by the money earned from murders for arms sales, fraud, narcotics, counterfeit products, etc. of the regime. It serves as a stark indication of the fact that most of the money that is used to finance Kim's lavish lifestyle is blood-sucked from his own citizens. But for those locked within the palace gates, it is a completely different story buried under the glamour of their isolated paradise. And maybe you were wondering, how does Kim manage to keep it all hidden? And how does he make sure none of them would ever be discovered? The answer lies in a level of surveillance and control which bewilders even Big Brother himself. It is a world of oppression with all guests, all performers, and all members of the staff observed, reported on, and disciplined if needed. The security is extremely high. There are guards around and the places are quite mysterious up to the very end. The guests, who are selected from the regime's most loyal, know that failure, a single slip of the tongue, can cost them their lives. These are not just parties, they are times wherein Kim can watch, reward, punish, and own the fate of those within the parties. The message is clear: you're here because you're loyal, and this is where you will stay only if you are loyal to the country and to Kim Jong Un. All the aspects of these meetings have a meaning. On the one hand, it's not unheard of for dictators to throw parties, but Kim Jong Un is using this as a way to tell a story, a drama that will inform his citizens that all those who stay loyal to him will be rewarded, and those who dare to disobey will be punished. Thus, he is the most powerful person. Every lavish dish, every drop of the finest whiskey, every secretive whisper in the halls, all of it is designed to reinforce one simple truth. Privacy is non-existent, and private matters in the dictatorship of North Korea are in firm control of Kim Jong Un, where power is the equivalent of money. If you loved this, check the other videos below to view more interesting comparisons and current topics.